Do I really have to make a case for Jamaal Williams to come back? But we'll talk about it. It's also a Friday Combine edition of Locked On Lions.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's March 3rd, everybody. A little snowstorm is coming. It's a Friday edition of Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network. Matt Dery with you. Thanks for listening and making this your first listen each and every day right here on Locked On Lions. Friday, March 3rd into Saturday, March 4th. We're getting ready for a March Madness coming up in a couple of weeks. We got the Combine going on right now down in Indianapolis. We'll get to a lot of things Combine and Lions today right here on this very program. Coming up today, Jamaal Williams is a free agent. What did Brad Holmes have to say about it? And why are so many people just ready to flick him into the ashtray of society here and let him go? I don't understand. I'll explain a case for Jamaal Williams and bringing him back, which I didn't think I would have to do. We'll do that coming up momentarily as well. Winners and losers at the Combine. I've got a winner for you to watch when it comes to the cornerback position. Not somebody necessarily at 6 for the Lions, but I'll explain coming up momentarily. Also, who's the player that is being mock drafted the most to the Lions? There is one name that's out there, and it's both at 6 and at 18. We'll talk about that also right here on this very program. Thank you for making us your first listen. Tell your friends, if you got Lion fan friends that aren't really into podcasts or don't really listen to us or don't know about us, tell them about Locked On Lions. Tell them about what we do each and every day here on the show, and we appreciate your listenership. Combine going on in Indy today, but I've been reading the tea leaves. I've been talking to some people, and I had a friend of mine tell me he was listening to the radio over the weekend to Brian Chapman on the ticket. I like Brian. Brian's a nice guy. And relaying to me some things that were said and what people are talking about when it comes to Jamaal Williams. Let me say this. I can't believe that we're even having a discussion about whether or not Lions fans or anybody would think that Detroit would not want Jamaal Williams back. I understand. I get it. The running back position, if you have a good offensive line and a good passing game, you could stick anybody in there at running back, and they'll likely perform and do pretty well. All right? Jamaal Williams this past season rushed for 1,000 yards. He also broke Barry Sanders' single-season Lions rushing touchdown record as he had 17 touchdowns. He's a winning player. He's a leader. He brings so much energy to the table. And yes, Brad Holmes, Lions general manager, the other day in Indianapolis at the Combine said there is mutual interest and the two sides are talking about locking Jamaal back up for another long-term deal. If you recall, a couple of years ago, Brad Holmes signed Jamaal Williams from Green Bay to a 2-year, $6 million deal. He's making $3 million a year to basically be the backup to DeAndre Swift. Jamaal Williams, to me, is he as talented as DeAndre Swift? No. But he's more reliable. He's more dependable. He's tougher. He gets the tough yards. And I know they run behind Swift and Williams and Craig Reynolds and Justin Jack. These guys all run behind a very talented offensive line. And I understand that, like, the Chiefs spent a 7th-round pick this past year on Isaiah Pacheco, and he split time in the backfield this year. And yet, that's all they needed to do. And there's talk about Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas, maybe being a Lions target at 18. And I, for one, have said I wouldn't spend a first-round pick on a running back. The game has changed. We are in a passing league. It's all about the quarterback and the receivers. Yeah, there's some really good running backs out there, but a lot of them, you're right, you pluck late in the draft. Look at what the Lions did with Jamaal. They got him for a song, basically, $3 million a year. He was a backup in Green Bay, was likely going to be a backup in Detroit, and all he did this past season was help lead this offense. When the Lions needed a 4th and 1, they gave it to Jamaal. When the Lions were 3rd and goal after being stuffed on the first 2 plays, they gave it to Jamaal. He delivered. He had some big runs to ice games this year. They've got to bring him back. And it's not just, you can plug and play any running back in there. I get that. And I do understand the Lions have had Jonah Jackson go to the Pro Bowl, Frank Ragnow go to the Pro Bowl, Penei Sewell go to the Pro Bowl. Those are 3 of your 5 offensive linemen. But hearing people say, I heard on the radio this, and I heard this and that, or people were talking about, I read that the Lions could just let Jamaal Williams walk. Why? You think he's asking for $6 million, $7 million a year? No way. Jamaal Williams, my guess, is going to get between $4 and $4.5 million a year. It'll probably be another 2-year deal. And I don't think he's going to break the bank. He's coming off a very good season. All right. But he wasn't in the Pro Bowl. He wasn't an all-pro. But he's still very good. And you want him on your team. This is not just a guy that you can plug and play. I think he means more to the team. I think there's an emotional side to Jamaal Williams, a leadership side to Jamaal Williams. Guy was crying on national TV after week 18 in a game that really didn't have much meaning for the Lions because they'd been eliminated from the playoffs. This guy's bawling his eyes out after the game. And yes, he had lost his grandfather, but like Detroit and what the Lions do and the culture and trying to squash the narrative that's been around for 50 some odd years, 60 years, that this is a losing franchise. Jamaal Williams is proud to put on the uniform, proud to represent the city. He's genuine. So anybody making an argument that you could just let him walk, I think is dumb. And I'll be honest, DeAndre Swift, it's dumb thinking. DeAndre Swift is entering a contract year this year. He's never healthy. He was supposed to be this home run hitting threat, 2nd round pick, all these things, nearly a 1st round pick with where he was taken. Has DeAndre Swift lived up to expectations? I'd say probably not. There's a lot of talent there. There's some good games. Jamaal Williams has exceeded expectations. Don't you want somebody like that back? So that's my stance on that. I've never wavered. I know there's some free agents that you could question the Lions bringing back. Will they bring Alex Anzalone back or will they upgrade at linebacker? What about DJ Chark? Is he going to ask for $10 million a year again? They have Jamison Williams coming. You listen to my show yesterday, I told you there are some concerns inside the building at 222 RWD that Jamison Williams didn't work hard enough this year or didn't fit this year. Hopefully, Brad Holmes' comments and other comments from people will light a fire under him. But Jamaal Williams, you never have to light that fire under. He's got it every week. So I'm bringing Jamaal Williams back. I'm not giving him everything he wants. I don't know what he's asking for. I don't know what his agents are asking for. Are his agents asking for $6, $6.5, $7 million a year? Are the Lions going to go to $4, $4.5, $5 a year? He's going to definitely get a raise from the $3 million a year that he got. But they still have DeAndre Swift. And so he's not going to get all the carries. But you know what? Jamaal Williams was a huge part of what this organization did this year. So I can't even believe we're having this argument or discussion about it. Coming up next, the cornerback class looking good at the combine. I'll explain. But first, Built Bar. My goodness gracious, if you're looking for a delicious treat, you want something in the morning to kind of kickstart, jumpstart you, get you ready for the day, you got to try a Built Bar. They're unbelievably good. Whether it's the cookies and cream, the salted caramel, coconut brownie chunk, the Built Puffs, the marshmallow puffs that they have, all of it's great and all of it's healthy for you. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in great flavors. Churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond. You get them at Built.com. They're only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. You've tried every protein bar in the books. I know I have. Cliff Bar and this one and that one. They all suck. All right, I'm sorry. Built Bars are the best. You can get them now also at Walmart and at Sam's Club. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in and get that 13-bar box with a brownie batter and churro, and you can thank me later. Built Bar at Built.com or at Sam's Club and Walmart. All right, so we're recording on Friday afternoon where many of the cornerback prospects are going through 40-yard dashes and vertical jumps and everything else that's going on. I want you to keep your eyes on and keep tabs on a certain cornerback that I've seen mocked to the Lions at 18. And I've seen other people have a late first round, early second round. His name is Deonte Banks from Maryland. Banks today, 6 foot 197 were his measurables. And again, I'm not going to go through the underwear Olympics today. Dan Campbell said it the other day. We're still watching much more tape than we're watching guys working out in pajamas. But Deonte Banks is intriguing to me because he ran a 4.36 40 and he had a 42-inch vertical. Keely Ringo from Georgia, who's considered maybe even a better prospect than Banks, a guy that played on national championship teams and everything else at Georgia. Keely Ringo's vertical was 33.5. Banks's was 42-inch. Again, it's vertical jump. I'm not going to get crazy about it. Ringo is a really good player, and as of the time of recording here, Ringo hadn't run his okay. But the one thing we've seen is that this cornerback class, and it's going to lead me to my next topic in a second. But what am I saying? I'm saying is, if you've seen mock drafts that have Christian Gonzalez mocked to the Lions, Devin Witherspoon mocked to the Lions, Ringo mocked to the Lions, whether it's at 6, whether they trade back with Carolina and they go to 9, whether it's at 18. The Lions, if they want to get a good cornerback in this draft, they're going to get one. There are tons of good ones in this draft. The 2 kids from Maryland, I mentioned Ringo, Gonzalez, Witherspoon. The list goes on and on. Joey Porter, all right, who's not working out but just running the 40 at this combine. This cornerback class is as advertised. So if you're thinking that, and you're thinking if you're Brad Holmes, and Brad Holmes loves what? Offensive and defensive linemen. There's a chance the Lions could take a defensive lineman or an edge at 6, maybe get that guard, the right guard, to replace Vaitai and Evan Brown at 18. Maybe it's Torrance. Maybe it's the kid from Northwestern. And whatever, okay? They could still get a cornerback with one of their 2 second-round picks. There are a lot of good ones, and they're showing out here at the Combine. A lot of speed, a lot of good verticals, everything. And so that's, I think, you look at it and you go, all right, what are the 2 strongest positions at this Combine? Everybody's raving about the tight ends and the cornerbacks. And there's a need for both for Detroit when it comes to this. I know the Lions have Brock Wright, James Mitchell, who they drafted last year, Shane Zylstra. 3 tight ends that I think they like. Nobody at the level of TJ Hawkinson, but they may add another one. Why not? But cornerback and tight end have really shown at the Combine just how good these guys are. By the way, today, C.J. Stroud was asked, the quarterback from Ohio State, who he sort of compares to, and he mentioned Deshaun Watson. I thought that was kind of funny. Anthony Richardson's like, yeah, I want to be like Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, is what Anthony Richardson said. And then they asked the same question to Stroud, and he said, I compare myself to Michael Vick and Deshaun Watson. He meant on the field. It's kind of funny. Get the joke, Okay. All right. Who's being mocked the most to the Lions here on March the 3rd? I will tell you about that coming up next. All right. So I took a look at a ton of mock drafts today, and I was wondering what player, and again, this has nothing to do with Brad Holmes, but I'm just doing this. What player comes up the most for Detroit when it comes to the mock drafts that are out there? We've seen. Let me just give you some examples. I mentioned Deonte Banks. I've mentioned Brian Branch from Alabama. Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame, mocked to the Lions. Tyree Wilson, Brian Bresee, Miles Murphy, Devin Witherspoon, Anthony Richardson, Lucas Van Ness from Iowa, the edge, has been mocked to the Lions. Bijan Robinson, mocked to the Lions. But the player that has been mocked the most, and I looked at a bunch of them, is Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback from Oregon. Walter Football, pick 6, mocks him to the Lions. Sharp Football Analytics, Warren Sharp, mocked to the Lions at 6. Vinny Iyer, Sporting News, 6. Pro Football Focus, Trevor Sikkema, 6, Gonzalez. Mike O'Hara, Moose, DetroitLions.com, pick 18. Walter Football's Charlie Campbell, pick 6. Touchdown Wires, Doug Farrar, pick 6. PFN, Pro Football Network, Arif Hassan, pick 6. Tankathon.com, pick 6. USA Today, pick 6. So Christian Gonzalez mocked the most for the Lions, and most of them have him going at number 6, 6'2". Now remember, and Brad Holmes, I think, was asked about the last time he went out to an Oregon game. But number 1, the Lions have an in at Oregon because Penei Sewell went to Oregon. Penei Sewell's brother Noah, who is going to get drafted, and maybe by the Lions as a linebacker, he went to Oregon. Christian Gonzalez, of course, left Colorado, went to Oregon this past year, had a great year with 4 interceptions, 6'2", very good speed. The total package. But everybody thinks that Gonzalez, not everybody, but he's been mocked more than anybody else. And I've made this statement, and I'll continue to say it. I watched Gonzalez, and Chris Vanini brought this up the other day on the show. I've watched Gonzalez play, and I've watched Devin Witherspoon play. I think Witherspoon's a better player, but very short by a little bit. But I think if the Lions took Gonzalez at 6, I think there will be some people that will question because they'll say, are you really taking a corner at 6? And is he really this good? Obviously, he's got the size. All right. The Lions aren't drafting a 5'10" corner at number 6. We know the history of the Lions taking cornerbacks in the top 10. All right. The Jeff Okudah pick still to this day is being scrutinized after 3 seasons. And 3, quite honestly, underwhelming seasons. He got better this year. We saw improvement in the first half of the year, but this team is in desperate need of a corner. I just find it interesting that everybody's mocking Gonzalez to Detroit. I still think Miles Murphy could be the safe pick and something that fits more for what Brad Holmes wants to do, because Brad Holmes wants to get to the quarterback. Brad Holmes wants to collect defensive linemen. Now, Jeff Risdon, our friend from the Lions Wire, says he doesn't see the Lions taking a defensive lineman on the first 2 days because they're so stacked with them, and they like James Houston, Aiden Hutchinson, Levi Onwuzurike, Aleem McNeil, John Kaminsky if he re-signs. They want to bring back Isaiah Buggs, Josh Paschal. Julian Okwara is still on the team. As of now, Romeo Okwara and Charles Harris are still on the team. That's a lot of defensive linemen. That's a lot. But to me, you can never have enough guys that can get to the passer. And I think James Houston is more of a 3rd down only pass rusher or a 1st and 20 pass rusher if the team they're playing gets a penalty on 1st down. So we'll have to see. But plenty of people have mocked plenty of different people to the Lions, but Gonzalez comes up the most, which I think is intriguing for sure. And the Lions, like I said, they have that Oregon connection. Now, Penei Sewell didn't play with Christian Gonzalez. Gonzalez was only there for 1 year, but Sewell's brother did. And there's something about this kid. Question is, will the Lions pull the trigger at 6 or trade back to a team in desperate need of a quarterback, whether it's the Raiders, whether it's the Panthers? Miami, according to Josina Anderson today, may take a quarterback very early and try to move up, or want to take a QB because they're not sure about Tua's health. That would open up another opportunity for the Lions to accumulate more draft picks, move down, and maybe get their guy later on. Something to keep an eye on. Great week here on Locked On Lions. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out. We'll talk to you again on Monday with a full recap of the Combine.